Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the WWF Wrestling Challenge Review Series for February 7th, 1987. This will be the last one of these for a little while, but that's okay because we will move on to something of a meaningful run with Superstars of Wrestling. Got 10 new episodes of that, and then we'll probably go back to more WCW Saturday Night type stuff. In any event, we are about 6 weeks or so, maybe 7, away from Wrestlemania 3, the biggest wrestling extravaganza of all time at the time, and to me, still holds up as the biggest thing ever. I know there are people that say 23 grossed more money, and there are other WrestleManias, but when you look at historical events when it comes to the WrestleMania brand and wrestling in North America, I don't think that anything compares to WrestleMania 3, at least in the last 40 years or so. Anyway, Jimmy Jack Funk and Coco Beeware are starting off here. Coco gets a few shots in. Funk takes Beeware back to the corner, and some goofy punches. Nothing really worth writing home about. This is basically meant to put Coco over a couple of nice arm drags, hip tosses, and the like. And the Jimmy Jack Funk character gone by sometime in 1988, I believe. Big back body drop by Coco along the way. Coco manages to stay on point and hits the ghetto gourd buster, brain buster type maneuver and gets the victory there. Coco's still a big deal here in early 87. I remember going to house shows and hearing the Pile Driver music song from the second Pile Driver album. Here we have Jack Tunney announcing to Craig DeGeorge, who later becomes an XFL commentator about almost, 15 years or so after this happens. Anyway, alongside Jack Tunney announcing the site of WrestleMania 3. Think about that. That hadn't even been announced, and they're less than 2 months away as the Pontiac Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan. I won't cover the next segment because it's already been covered on the Superstars of Wrestling in the same week, but it is the title switch of the Tag Team Championships. And ultimately, that is useful as the Hart Foundation to defeat the British Bulldogs. At this point, the Dynamite Kid had been injured and would be really out of action for quite a while. And he is back in time for WrestleMania 3, and he does rehab for a while, but this injury, along with many others, helped contribute to him ending up in a wheelchair. The Wizard, Kamala, Sika, and Kimchi all cut an interview where the Wizard talks about the noises that Sika and Kamala make as a sign of communication on the 39th level. Doing some sci-fi in the wrestling even back in 1987. Far from the zombies that are here, but it is what it is. Don't think that would hold up today either. Outback Jack gets ready to come to the World Wrestling Federation from the outback of Australia and shows him boarding a plane, among other things. David Gold and Jake Roberts. Roberts, by this point, or very soon hereafter, is a babyface going into WrestleMania 3 against the Honky Tonk Man. Honky Tonk Man is in an inset, so I assume that has taken place. Short clothesline, among other things, and a DDT by Jake Roberts. Real short match, leading to the victory for Roberts. Roberts, again, over the next several years, one of the most influential baby faces in the entire sport, let alone the WWF. Billy Jack Haynes talks about taking on Hercules, wants Heenan out of it. They don't necessarily announce it's going to be WrestleMania 3, but that's the inference here. Haynes, oddly enough, saying that he doesn't take drugs, drink, or smoke, or do anything illegal, even though in real life he's doing all three by this point, and some of that substance use does cost him. There is a Kennedy Institute for Disabled Children, Ricky Steamboat, and I actually find this rather tasteless because I am disabled myself, and the WWF exploiting disabled children here just feels awkward on the basis of an angle. If they want to do something like Make-A-Wish Foundation, that's fine. I completely support all the work they've done over the last 30, 40 years with Make-A-Wish, but this particular angle with Steamboat getting kids to say I love you in front of a camera in 1987 I find offensive personally, but sometimes things just don't age well. I don't think that was their intention, but looking back at it, they could have done better. Johnny V with Axe and Smash of Demolition. Axe is without a doubt hitting hard. Both members have buzz cuts. Smash at this point is Barry Darso, who looks a bit bloated, to be completely honest. Johnny V doesn't last with them very long, switching to Fuji, I believe, well, definitely by the November Survivor Series for sure. Hard drops there. The Dream Team kind of complains about the involvement of the Demolition. Basically, they are feeling left behind. The Demolition Decapitator, after some clotheslines and a finish for Demolition. Obviously, Demolition becoming one of the most successful tag teams of that or any era. Then we will go to the next enhancement match, because the Piper's Pit, that is the most famous, which has been covered on the Superstars of Wrestling in the same week, where Hogan gets the cross ripped from his neck, and Andre and Hogan is set in stone for WrestleMania 3 is up next. Phenomenal thing. If you've never seen it before, go to either one of those shows, either Superstars from this week or the Wrestling Challenge from this week. That Piper's Pit, certainly iconic, but don't want to cover the same thing twice because I hate it when wrestling shows do it, so I'm not going to do it here. Adrian Adonis hitting several shots on a prone Steve Lombardi. Adonis with a clubbing forearm, and certainly not exactly looking too terribly good there. Ultimately, shots to the outside, and ultimately Adonis takes down the one half of the, I guess you'd say, his major issue at this point is Piper, and he's almost calling out Piper during the process. He puts on the Goodnight Irene sleeper hold, and Adonis gets a victory. The Can-Am Connection seems to be one of Vince's pet projects at the time. I wasn't around for their original run, so watching back at this, it's just interesting how heavily Zink and Martel were pushed. I don't know if I were Tom Zink that I would have left for what WCW ended up being for me, but hey, that it's neither here nor there. Lots of double teams, Mike Sharp in there, alongside what seems to be another Steve Lombardi match. But anyway, there are a couple of cutoffs for the Can-Am Connection in a positive way. Martel fires up. Martel's always fired up in kind of a weird way. There is a leaping forearm into the corner by Zink. Zink and Martel on the same page momentarily, and without a doubt, the match breaks down. Morocco and Orton, who are hyping what ends up being the opening match of WrestleMania 3, although the feud's going on around the horn with the Can-Ams and that team at this particular juncture. Without a doubt, Mike Sharp misses a clothesline and gets cross-bodied, and there we go for a near fall. Lombardi and Sharp managing to keep the match going a little longer than would be expected. Of course, at this point, both guys seen as kind of not main eventers, but close to it. A slingshot sunset flip by the baby faces, and a drop kick sends Mike Sharp out to the floor. Power slam by Tom Zink, and Zink tags off to Martel. They are indeed kind of a predecessor to the Rockers, and a slingshot and a victory for the Can-Am Connection. Some bragging from Bruce, not Butch Reed, although you could call him Bruce Reed because I think that was his legal name. Anyway, and we close out the show with that. We will be back With AEW Dynamite tonight also, some of the Superstars of Wrestling series will probably go up. But until then, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.